Okay, guys, let's get started without any further ado. I guess the others aren't available today. Now, in the last class, we have seen how to assign a private IP manually to each system in the network. Okay. Today, we're going to learn how does a DHCP server automatically assign an IP. Now, when we talk about our home networks, guys, our Wi-Fi router itself acts as a DHCP server, and your DHCP server always has a pool of free IP addresses. So if your Wi-Fi router or your DHCP server gets the first IP, then it has the pool starting from next IP 0.2, 0.3, so and so till the last one. And out of this pool of IP addresses, it assigns each system a unique IP with the process called the DURA process. So today we're going to learn what this DURA process is theoretically. Now, let's assume we have the DHCP server again, and there's a new client or a new device connected to the network. So when you select that option, obtain an IP address automatically, what this device starts doing is it starts sending a packet to every other device in the network. So it broadcasts a packet, and that packet is called the discover packet. So it is basically asking every system in the network, are you the DHCP server? So it sends it to the DHCP server as well. It sends it to all the other devices in the network. Okay. And that packet, as mentioned, is to discover where the DHCP server is located. So when it reaches the other devices, they just drop that packet. But when it reaches the correct DHCP server, that server responds back with an offer. Okay, and that offer is basically an IP address telling, hi, you were looking for me, and I can sense that you're new to this network, and hence I'm going to provide this free IP to you, an available IP to you. When that IP has been offered to the client requests the DHCP server to assign that IP to itself, and again, not assign it to anyone else. So once that request is initiated from the client to the server acknowledges that. Okay, it sends a final confirmation or an acknowledgement, and with that acknowledgement, this device gets that IP. So this whole process of D for discover, O for offer, R for request, and A for acknowledgement is called the DORA process, and this occurs very spontaneously. Okay, it's very quick. So I'm pretty sure you might have observed this process on your phones if you have an Android phone. Whenever you again click on Wi-Fi and connect to a Wi-Fi network by entering the password, for a very short duration, you see this message saying obtaining IP address. Not sure how many of you have observed this or not, but again, during that procedure, your phone is trying to perform DORA with the router, the Wi-Fi router, which is the DHCP server, and it's trying to obtain an IP address during by this procedure. Okay. So if I show you my DHCP server practically, I can just go to my browser, and in my browser, I can access my router's IP 192.168.0.1. And when I give that, I have my router's login page here. I can log in with my default credentials here. And if I go to network, LAN settings, you can see my Wi-Fi router itself is acting as a DHCP server. It's getting the first IP in the network, and the remaining IPs from 0.2 to 199 are the pool of IPs. And from that pool itself, each device is getting an IP assigned 0.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, and whatnot. Okay, so this is how DHCP server automatically assigns an IP from the pool to each system in the network using the DORA process. Excuse me. Yeah, Tarun. Tarun, your mic is unmuted. Hello. Tarun, your mic is unmuted. Let manually mute you. Hi Ashish, can you hear me? Okay. Now coming back to the next part, guys, is we have something called DNS servers. So let's talk about that now. Okay, so when you talk about DNS, it stands for domain name service. Now to understand DNS well, it is basically a phone book for the internet. So what I mean by phone book for the internet is when you go to your browser and when you enter any domain here, such as www.google.com, Your browser doesn't actually understand this language. It doesn't know what www.google.com means. Okay, it doesn't know what it indicates, because when it wants to connect to a server, it needs the public IP of that server. So when you want to connect to google.com, you need to know the public IP assigned to the server on which google.com is being hosted. Okay. So again, that information on what domain on or which domain is connected on what IP is available in a DNS server. So a DNS server is to link every domain name with its corresponding public IP address. Okay. Just like in your phone, when you have this contacts application, you have again a list of contact numbers linked with contact names. Okay, so you might have dad as a contact number, mom as a contact number, sister as a contact number, brother as a contact number. Okay, and again, when you want to search for the contact, you don't search by the number because you can't remember all the numbers that you have in your phone. So you just search by the contact name, and when you hit the dial button, the call is initiated to that exact number. So your contacts application in the phone is linking that contact name with the contact number. Similarly, a DNS server links a domain name to its exact public IP address. So when you type a URL in the browser, the DNS server resolves that URL to its corresponding IP. And then it allows your device to connect to that exact intended web server. Okay. So in your browser, when you open up a website like google.com, that request is sent to the ISP. From the ISP, it goes to a DNS server. And in that DNS server, they have linking for each domain with its corresponding IP. And from that IP address, it reaches the target server, the exact target server with that public IP. Okay. If I show you an example for this, I can just go to my command prompt and I can run a command called ping www.google.com. This is a command to check for connectivity from your device to the target server. So when you type ping, it uses a protocol called the ICMP protocol. Okay, and it sends a message to google.com. Not a single message, actually, it sends 4 packets in Windows. So when you hit enter, you can see it is sending 4 packets. And for those 4 packets, I've got a reply back from Google. But when I'm pinging google.com, I'm getting a reply from this IP 142, 250, 205, 228. So this is the IP of the server Google is being hosted on. And if I copy that IP, if I go to my browser, and if I paste that IP address here, and if I hit enter, carefully observe what happens, guys. It still loads Google for me. So again, whether you enter the IP address or the domain name, it still loads the same website because they are being linked with each other with the help of a DNS server. So again, as mentioned, DNS server is like the internet's phone book, linking every domain name on the internet with its corresponding IP address, just so that even if you don't know the IP, if you know the domain name and you just search for that domain name, you still get the exact intended server, okay, with the data on that website. Is that clear, guys? Any questions on what is DHCP or DNS protocol? Again, quite a few important protocols when you talk about networking. Any questions or doubts up to this part? Ayush, Alexi, Tarun, Ashish. Please explain DHCP again in short. Oh yeah, no problem. As mentioned earlier, when you talk about DHCP protocol, so in my home network, so again, as mentioned, let me explain this with a simple diagram. So let's assume this is my home network here. Okay, this huge box represents my home network. And let's say this is my router, my Wi-Fi router in my home. Now my Wi-Fi router also acts as the DHCP server in the network. Okay, so DHCP server, which is getting the first IP, something like 192.168.0.1. And it has a pool of IP addresses. So in your network, if you have like 3 devices or so, okay, let's say if there are 2 devices here, each IP, again, from the DHCP server, each IP is allocated to each device. So it has a pool of IPs if you remember. So again, if I type here, it has a pool of free IPs, right? So from the IP 192.168.0.2, it has all the IPs up to 192.168.0.254. So out of that pool, it keeps assigning each system a new IP with the Durga process. So if there's this device, it gets 192.168.0.2. This device gets 192.168.0.3. And whenever an IP is assigned with the Durga process, Okay, that IP is removed from the pool. So now the new pool begins at, again, if I select this IP here, now the new pool will begin at 0.4 instead. Okay, so this assignment is happening with DORA process. But what is this DORA? So again, as mentioned earlier, if I connect one more device in the network, now this device starts broadcasting a signal. So broadcasting in the sense it sends a packet to 192.168.0.255. Last IP is called the broadcast IP. So when you send a packet to 255, it goes to every device in the network. Okay, and this packet is called the discover packet. So it is basically asking every system, are you the DHCP server? Are you the DHCP server? Are you the DHCP server? So this packet is called the discover packet. It is trying to discover or figure out where the DHCP server is. So when it reaches the wrong systems, they will just block that packet. They just drop it. They don't respond to it in any way. Okay. But when it reaches the correct server, when it reaches the exact DHCP server, that server responds back with an offer. Okay. It says, hi, I'm the DHCP server in the network and I can offer you an IP address. So it initiates an offer with the available IP, next available IP, which is 192.168.0.4. Okay. For that offer now again, after that, your system or your client sends a request saying, hi, thanks for offering me that IP. I'm requesting you that you allocate that IP to my system and do not assign it to anyone else. And for that request, finally, your DHCP server sends an acknowledgement, final confirmation. Okay. So this is the whole DORA process. D for discover, A for off, O for offer, R for request, and A for acknowledgement. And with this final acknowledgement, your device gets that new IP 192.168.0.4. Okay. Is that clear? Ayush, any questions? Not clear or no questions? Okay, perfect. So this is about the DORA process, guys. So whenever you connect a new device in the network, it always performs DORA process first, and with that, it assigns a new IP to every system in the network automatically. Okay, and whenever an IP is assigned from the pool, that IP is removed from the pool because it should not assign the same IP again. So now the new pool will begin at 0.5 instead. So that will be the next IP in the pool. Okay, so that is an important point to note. So this is about the DHCP server and its protocol. Okay, coming back to our presentation now, after DORA or DNS and all, we have the next part, special IPs. Now in your whole IPv4 range, guys, other than public and private IPs, there are two other IPs called loopback and APIPA IPs. Now these are special IPs. They are neither public IPs nor private IPs. They are used for certain purposes. Okay, so loopback IP is specific, again, on your system is specifically used for troubleshooting. So it ranges from the number 127.0.0.0, 127.255.255.255. So the whole range of 127 is loopback IP, and this is used for internal testing on a device. What I mean by that is, again, on your system, you have something called NIC card, Network Interface Controller Chip. Okay, or you can search for NIC chip, and this is what it looks like. This is the main component on your system, which is responsible for all the network communications. Okay, so your Ethernet interface, the Wi-Fi chip, the Bluetooth interface, all these interfaces for the physical components for those interfaces are present on this one singular chip. Okay, and if this chip fails to function, your system will not be able to communicate with any other device because all the adapters would fail, and on those adapters you won't get any IP addresses to communicate. So if you want to figure out if your NIC card is properly working or not, you can ping on the loopback IP. So you just go to your terminal and run a command ping and give any IP starting with 127. So 127.1.2.3, any random IP. And if you get a reply back like this, it means everything is working perfectly fine. So all you're doing is you're pinging your own system. You're trying to ping to the NIC card and you're waiting for a response. Hence the name loopback. You're trying to ping a connection to your own device, you're talking to yourself, and the connection is getting looped over there. So that's hence the name loopback IP. Okay. Now, similarly, there's another IP as well called the APIPA IP. Now, this is, again, it stands for Automatic Private IP Assign. Now, this is an IP address which is assigned in a special case when your system cannot retrieve a private IP from any other source. So if your DHCP server stops functioning, and if the network admin is not assigning a manual IP as well. In such a scenario, your system gets an APIPA IP ranging from the number 169.254.0.0 to 169.254.255.255. It cannot be used for communication. It is only to give you that idea or that notification that your system is not able to retrieve a private IP from any other source. Okay, so again, it's a special IP assigned in a very rare case scenario when your system cannot retrieve a private IP from any other alternative methods. Okay, both again DHCP server method and the manual method. Okay, so any questions regarding this special IP addresses? Bulexi, Tarun, Ayush, Ashish. Do you want me to explain anything again, guys? Any certain concept? Loopback IP or PIPA IP? Oh, okay. So the last concept left out for networking is our CIDR value, which stands for classless interdomain routing. Now this is an alternative to subnet mask. Okay, just like how you have subnet mask in Windows, in Linux operating systems, you use something called CIDR. Okay, so again, this is calculated by the number of network portion bits. Okay, so basically, sometimes what happens is you see IP addresses with a slash and a number beside it. So this is called the CIDR notation. You have an IP address, and after that slash, you have something called prefix length. So this prefix length is basically the number of network portion bits. So in class A, when you have again one network portion with 8 bits, CIDR is /8. For class B with 2 network portions, you have 8 plus 8 /16. And for class C, you have 3 network portions, so 8 plus 8 plus 8. 8 bits here, 8 bits here, 8 bits here. So that is /24. So this number 24, 16, 8 is being determined by how many network bits you have. Okay, so in one portion, you have 8 bits. In 2 portions, 16 bits. In 3 portions, 24 bits. So if you see something like /24, it indicates it's a class C address. /16 indicates class B. /8 indicates class A. So don't get confused, guys. In the upcoming sessions, when we see log files in Linux, you usually see an IP / a number. So that number denotes the CIDR value. Okay, it is only to figure out which IP belongs to which class, like a subnet mask. Okay, so 10.0.0.0/8 indicates class A, and 172.16.0.0/16 indicates class B. 192.168 anything /24 indicates class C. Okay, 8, 16, 24. These are the default CIDR values for class A, B, C respectively. Okay, again, just a simple alternative for subnet mask. Okay. So this concludes the whole networking concepts, guys. We have nothing more to talk about on networking. We have talked about IP addresses, IPv4 addresses specifically. What are the properties of IPv4? What's the range of IPv4? Different categories in IPv4, classes, public and private IPs, subnet mask, default gateway. What is, again, how do you assign an IP manually? How to get it from a DHCP server? What is a DNS server? Okay, what is, again, what is CIDR? All of this has been covered in networking. So this is helpful for you in any domain, guys. As long as you're staying in IT domain, networking is an important concept. So once this is done, in tomorrow's class, we're going to go with lab setup installation. How do you install Kali Linux? How do you install this tool called VMware? We'll talk about how to set up a lab, practical lab for our upcoming sessions. Okay. So that's that. Nothing further, guys. Thanks for joining today. We'll be disconnecting now, and we'll be connecting back tomorrow for the last practical session for our demo sessions. So after tomorrow, there are no more demos, guys. Please join the session tomorrow without fee. We'll learn how to, again, have a lab setup practically. Okay. And from Monday, the link is going to change. Please make the payment before Monday to continue classes. Bye-bye.